Welcome everybody to the November session of the West Region Learning Community Health Department call. The agenda for today, I'll go ahead and put that into the chat. Here it is. So we'll have our welcomes and then Ty Edward Few, the manager of the Denver Prevention Training Center. He'll give us a presentation on HIV self-testing. And then we'll open up the floor for question and answers. And in case people didn't know, this is Gary's last week here at SFDPH and with SIVA. So we'll take a moment to wish him a bon voyage. So, so is anybody here? Is this your first time joining the group or this West Region calls? I think I see some new names here. Carolyn, I've seen you a couple times. Hi, Yvonne. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself to the group? Oh, no worries. So no mic for Yvonne, but if everybody could put your name and your organization into the chat, we'd like to keep record of who's attending the sessions. And great. So my name is Jesus Garata. I'm part of the SFDPH team. And these monthly calls are a collaboration between the 3 SIVA providers in the West Region, California Prevention Training Center, the Denver Prevention Training Center, and San Francisco Department of Public Health. So as people are signing in, let's hand it over to Ty Edward Few, and he's going to give us the latest and greatest on HIV self-testing.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? There are not a lot of us, so I'm going to ask people to come off mute and talk. If you don't have a microphone, that is okay. Yvonne, I know that you don't have a microphone, but come off mute and talk. How's everyone doing today? It's Tuesday.
Pretty well.
Okay. Thomas, is that a good laugh, bad laugh?
Yeah, well, no, I'm doing good today because I'm feeling good finally.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking, Ty.
Hey, Carolyn. All right. Thank you, Dallas, for saying hello. Patrick, how are you doing today?
You know, the sun is out in the Pacific Northwest in November. So how do you think I'm doing?
You're doing great. We're going to take
right.
that win. That is a W in our category. Yes. So good afternoon, good mid-morning. It's afternoon here in Colorado, but my name is Ty. I'm the Learning and Development Manager for the Denver PTC. I am colleagues with Jesus and Anshay and the crew from the California Prevention Training Center and the San Francisco Department of Health. Today, I'm going to talk for about 10, 15 minutes on HIV self-testing. Then we're going to just ask you a couple of guiding questions around HIV self-testing. So before I begin, either unmute yourself or type into the chat, what do you think we mean by HIV self-testing? Unmute yourself or type into the chat, what do you think we mean by HIV self-testing? Okay, so Jesus using technology that wouldn't be used anywhere else. Client will perform tests on their own. Testing at home for HIV. Hello, Carrie. Testing yourself at home. Anyone else want to put in a definition of HIV self-testing? Client self-test administration. Awesome. All right, next PowerPoint, Jesus. So we have 4 learning objectives today. We're going to talk about the purpose and the benefit of HIV self-testing. We're going to describe the HIV self-testing technologies. We're going to identify TA needs and describe adaptations. So before we get started, how many jurisdictions here have used HIV self-testing or knew about it before today? Put your hands up. Wave your hands in the air like you just don't care. Okay, Patrick, you're using them. Alejandro, I see you're waving your hand. Where are you from, Alejandro? Just type it into the chat if you can't talk. Cynthia, you have your hands up.
Yeah, thank you, Ty. I'm Alejandro Espinosa from Vista Community Clinic in North County, San Diego. And yes, we've used, especially at our clinic, we've used in-home and self-testing.
Awesome. And Thomas, you had your hand up. Thank you, Alejandro. You had your hand up. And Patrick, I see that you talked about dry blood spots. Awesome. So next PowerPoint, Jesus. Thank you. So when we talk about HIV self-testing, the way we want to frame this conversation is that HIV self-testing is when you can conduct the HIV test on your own or in any location. Can someone tell me why this was really important? What happened recently in the history of our planet that made HIV self-testing really critical?
Is this a trick question?
Yeah. You know, there could be anything. It could be that, you know, you just didn't like seeing people. You wanted to do it at home. So, but yes, a lot of us started doing HIV self-testing because of COVID. And why was that, Alejandro?
Oh, at least I'm speaking on behalf of my clinic. It really limited us as far as outreaching and getting clients for HIV testing. So it was possibly the best way to do physical distancing testing, as well as able to still get those testing clients to those eligible clients.
Yes, yes. This was one way for people to be able to meet their deliverables around HIV self-testing and still give people the opportunity to learn their status. Also, it was an opportunity for us within this world of HIV prevention to reimagine our landscape. So next slide there, Jesus. Thank you. So, no, you're right. Go ahead. So we're also going, in a few minutes, going to talk about another type of testing called mail-in testing. But one of the beauties of HIV self-testing is because it was really, truly client patient centered, meaning people could take the test in the privacy of their location. We could use various technologies, phone, internet, to walk people through it. And people could know their status within a matter of minutes. And this was really a twist on non-traditional, non-clinical HIV testing. Next slide. So when we talk about a rapid HIV self-test, we're really talking about the oral quick in-home test. Is this what people who are using HIV self-testing are using? Is this the technology that you're using? Put it into the chat or raise up your hand. Alejandro, was that a yes? I saw a little bit of yes. Thomas, was that a yes on your behalf? Jeanette, that's a yes. Andrew, thank you for calling in from New Mexico. Is New Mexico doing HIV self-testing?
Yeah, we are doing self-testing. We have a contractor who's sending kits out to folks.
Okay, and are you guys using the Oral Quick in-home, or what is the technology that you're using?
That one's OraQuick, although we are looking at the what's the collaborative, the B test. I can't remember the name today, but the one that's dried spots. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm multitasking. I can't remember. Oh yes, building healthy online communities. Thanks.
Yeah, building healthy online communities. Excellent. So when we talk about, usually when people talk about HIV self-testing, the majority of people are talking about this rapid HIV self-test, which is the Oral Quick in-home test. It is the kit that people can call and request. Then you will The kit can be mailed to you. And this is one of the beauties of HIV self-testing as it's happened here throughout the nation, is that a lot of people in different jurisdictions have removed a lot of the barriers that have traditionally been in place for HIV self-testing. So if you called, for example, in the city of Philadelphia, which I know is not in the Western region, but I'm just going to use them as an example. If in Philadelphia you called to request an oral quick in-home test, you could give any address in the city of Philadelphia and a test would be sent to that address. And it could be any address of a family member, a friend, anybody. You could get that test and find out your status. So you didn't have to be a resident of the city of Philadelphia. In many jurisdictions, we're doing the same thing. I do know that I believe APLA out in Los Angeles were mailing oral quick in-home tests all throughout the nation, because people would go to APLA and request a kit, and no matter where you lived, you would get a chance to do this. So this is one of the technologies that people are talking about. Next slide. So here is some basic information about the oral quick in-home test. It tells you about the specimen, the time, and how it's billed. We can share this slide with you. It's a part of today's presentation, and you can have that for your agencies to think about. Next PowerPoint. So now we want to talk about the HIV mail-in self-test. Has anyone heard about these? Alejandro, I see you saying yes. Patrick, what do you know about this, Patrick?
Well, this is the one we're using. The one in the picture, it looks like molecular. This is the one that we use in Washington State.
Mm-hmm. And can you, Patrick, do you feel comfortable saying why this is the one you're using?
Yeah, I think there are probably different components to it. One is, you know, we fund a lot of testing agencies for this work and testing work and prevention work. And so they actually wanted to have a fourth generation blood test, if that was available, which this is. It's a combo antigen antibody test that they could use with their clients. And because folks couldn't come into the office, they were looking for a virtual way to continue to do the test events. Because the way we look at test events in Washington is it's an entry to other prevention services. So the idea was a tester could get together with a client virtually. Maybe it's online platform, maybe it's even just a straight phone call, and try to actually do a test event while using the test kit. So helping a client collect the test specimen, package it up, make sure it gets sent in the mail to get back to the lab, and then also do their other prevention work. The downside to it is the result is not instant. It takes about a week for us to get results back. And so you've got to be able to reconnect with your client and get those results to them. But there's some positives too, because since it's a lab run test, if there's a reactive result, it will generate ELR to public health, and that'll engage the public health system as well. So there'll be two pieces there. There'll be the CVO test site piece and the prevention piece there, as well as public health and DIS as needed. Excellent.
So Patrick gave the rest of my presentation. I'm done for the day.
No, I didn't.
Oh, no, yes, you did. So basically, we're talking about one of the beauties of this test is that there is this laboratory aspect of it. We see this as a beautiful thing because this is an opportunity for there to be a record. And sometimes when you do the oral quick in-home, you are, as an organization, depending upon the tester to do a lot of follow-up or being able to recontact the tester. Next PowerPoint. So when we talk about dry blood spots, this is that test. And I believe that a lot of people do prefer this test because it is a laboratory molecular testing. I would say that, you know, you select a test depending upon what you can afford and what kind of technology that you would like. When you get these PowerPoints in your mailbox, you'll see that there is a difference between the cost. Next PowerPoint. So just so that you understand the timeline between the two tests, When we talk about the rapid HIV self-test, that is something that it can take 1 to 3 days being mailed out. Although I would say that when this slide was developed, we weren't really being accurate because the US postal system is taking longer these days. So it could take longer to get the test, but complete it, get the results 20 to 40 minutes. The client gets the results. That's not often reported back to the larger public health system, or with the mail-in test, which use dried blood spots, the lab provides the test result to the provider. So this is some of the differences. I want to stop here and just say that I can't tell you which test to select. I think that it'll have to be something that you and your organization decide. There are pluses and minuses to which test that you decide. As CBER providers, all three of us, the San Francisco Department of Public Health, the California Prevention Training Center, and the Denver Prevention Training Center can provide you with TA regarding how to help make that decision. And once you select a test, we can provide you with TA around the implementation. So this is the first objective. This is the technology. What questions do you have about HIV self-testing technologies? You can put them in the chat or you can unmute. Colleagues, I hope you know by now, I am a person who feels that we learn best when we can talk to each other. That is one of the modes of learning. So unmute and talk to us. What questions do you have about this?
So,
Javier.
I don't have a question. I'm more of a comment. I guess you know, just as Patrick was saying earlier, we've been using Take Me Home in the state of Oregon. Why with the HIV specific with the OraQuick, that's kind of our regular larger testing contract with them, so it's available to anyone in the state of Oregon. And then we do also have a contract on the STD side to do the STD, which is a smaller, it's smaller targeted specifically on grinder type. So we do have kind of a base of folks that do have a higher risk if when asking for this testing to be mailed to them. I mean, we've seen it as supplemental to due to the pandemic and trying to, you know, fill the void and, you know, lack of services, or, you know, as things are opening back up. But I will also say that, I mean, there is, while we have found higher positivity rates on the folks that are utilizing this testing, we've also found just a great number of folks that are not returning them back.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, most recently we were on a call with other stakeholders on Take Me Home, and, you know, they said anywhere between, I believe it was between like 30 to 48% of folks did not return. And I mean, our return rate's larger than that. It's at about like in the 60th percentile. So, you know, so it is, you know, how do we engage, or even how do we get to a point where maybe it is a little more hybrid? I know that I did speak to the folks at San Francisco AIDS Foundation, and they do it where they have kind of a navigator role, you know, just kind of enrolling people in and having that accountability. Because when you're doing something online, a lot of the times there isn't that, or even the cost associated with it, you know, if it's for free, where, you know, someone just gets it mailed. And I'll say that, at least, so I'm in Portland, and as I have kind of taken on some of this program, I wanted to do a user experience, because how am I going to tell you about it if I've never done it? So I ordered it and I went through, you know, getting it. And I mean, I got it within 1 business day, you know, so it was kind of a quick, and I got my results, you know, within, I believe, it was less than a week, but they say it's a week. So, I mean, we've found that at least with my user experience and what we've heard, it's been pretty efficient. But I will also say that we should just kind of look at it as supplemental and maybe reaching the folks that we're not going to be able to reach in office settings. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Javier. And then I think, Patrick, you put into the chat that your return rate is around 95% or so?
Yeah, that's correct. It's pretty good, and I think that's because we're working with the agencies who would normally be doing this work, so they're working with their communities and their clients. So they're either doing that virtual test event kind of live, like we're doing this call, or they have really good follow-up with their clients or know their clientele. But it's a different kind of reach than like a grinder type of approach where you might reach younger MSM who have never tested before and want to get tested. So I do think that the two testing technologies could be geared towards two different approaches to how you're trying to reach different communities, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And that's what we really encourage people to do, is to think about the community that they want to reach and allow the testing technology to fit that community. Thomas, did I see your hand up, or was I visualizing something? Nope, you didn't have your hand up. Okay, awesome sauce. No worries. What other questions do we have just about the technologies? So next PowerPoint. Thank you so much. So really, I just want to underscore this. We are here to provide technical assistance regarding the implementation and adaptation of HIV self-testing. That is our role. That is what we are funded to do. That is what brings us joy. One of the reasons that we can do this is because we have all three centers have spent time working with HIV self-testing. For example, in Denver, we worked with another SIBA provider, WashU SIBA, and we did a study of health departments that are using HIV self-testing and directly funded organizations that are using HIV self-testing, specifically the OralQuick technology. And we can just tell you what we learned. We developed a lovely executive summary that reviewed the 12 components that we identified as being essential for a successful HIV self-testing program. So, you know, we know something about this. And so Thomas, you put into a question, what is the rate of accuracy? So does anyone want to answer that for us? What is the rate of accuracy with the HIV self-test? So Patrick, you put something into the chat. Do you mind if I read it?
Yeah, it's a little bit off topic from what was just asked, but sure, absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, so with the MTL, which is what?
That's the dry blood spot, I'm sorry, molecular testing labs.
Yeah.
The kit you showed in your slide.
Yeah. They have seen a delay in the kits being sent or returned, and it's a UPSSS problem. The laboratory is located in Vancouver, right? So there is that concern that there has been this slowdown of the mail. So yeah, we just want to put that out there. Does anyone want to answer the rate of accuracy that is found with the HIV self-testing? And Thomas, do you mean the OralQuick or do you mean the dry blood spot? I think you mean the OralQuick.
I mean, the OralQuick is the same as that we pretty much that we would use in office, correct? So it would be, I mean, we'd still have the caveat of like the window period that you'd have to just, you know, yeah. So it's just as effective as the OralQuick would be in office as a third gen test.
Yeah, it's the same rate of efficacy, same rate of accuracy. And what we have recommended is that agencies build into their protocols that are going to use HIV self-testing this opportunity to do a confirmatory test. So next PowerPoint there, Jesus. So what do you think are some really fun adaptations for HIV self-testing? Or let me ask this question, why is adaptation for HIV self-testing important? And you know what, Jesus, you can take down the PowerPoints. We can just all look at each other and talk. So I'm gonna ask people to unmute yourself. You can't hide behind the PowerPoint anymore. Talk to us. Why is adaptation important?
Because each client's different. You know, each client has their own specific needs and habits.
Okay, because you want to be client-centered and each client is different. Thank you. Who else? Someone else, come on, talk to us. Why is adaptation important when it regards HIV self-testing?
I'll say that that we just, as new tools are available to us, we need to utilize them. And a lot of times I'll say that if something new pops up and everybody wants to jump on it, thinking that it's going to be the next big solution for our communities and for everyone. But it is great that we jump on this technology, but just seeing how it works and if it is effective in your area, if the intervention itself is in your area, or how you're going about doing it. Just because you see as something new comes out, it's a hit or miss, and sometimes everybody jumps on something and it just doesn't really work for their area, but it works great in other areas. So just being aware of diversifying our kind of our prevention tool belts, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then in the chat, Patrick said, we didn't support we didn't support home testing in Washington prior to COVID. We had to quickly adapt to prevent what was feeling like an almost complete shutdown in non-clinical testing. So that is another reason. Why else do we want to adapt? What else? I see a lot of people on here. I see a lot of mutes on, and that is great because you could be in a noisy environment, but use the chat function. Come on, let's talk about adaptation. Why do we adapt beyond the need of the client that we're working with? What else?
So when I was at CBOs, we had assessed patients. Like we had a group of people to kind of help give us advice on building a program. And what we heard from people saying is that they don't like going to the gay clinic and stuff like that. So there was some stigma about going to the places that offered a rapid test. So if I went to like a general clinic, we could do an HIV test plus a blood draw. But if I wanted the places here in LA that were offering rapid tests, they were like the gay places. So if some people needed the service, but they didn't want to associate with the location, and this is kind of a workaround, we could send you the stuff. So you don't have to go to that area that you don't want to be seen at.
Right. And this was an opportunity with HIV self-testing to allow people to test in environments that they felt comfortable in and comfortable receiving, especially for the oral quick in-home test, felt comfortable receiving the results in. I can tell you that in Alaska, organizations were allowing people to pick up the kit in person, but you couldn't do the test there. So people were doing testing in their cars. Like there are a lot of ways to do this. And one of the things that we want to really encourage you to think about with the technology when you're thinking about this test is a lot of us, when we get a new piece of technology, we decide, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And we don't yet understand what the technology is. So what I want to encourage you to do is first start to understand the technology. What sense does it make to start talking about HIV self-testing if you have no idea what the technology is doing? So one of the reasons that you need to understand the technology is because you need to adapt your service models to make sure that you're in line with the technology. So we learned of a lot of organizations who started talking about, yeah, let's do HIV self-testing, but they had no way of trying to get people to walk clients through what the self-test required. They did not have a system or a protocol in place for advertising in new locations, for getting things to the client. So first, understand the technology. And maybe the technology that works best is the dry blood spot testing, because if you don't have a protocol set up at your agency to ensure that you're going to have a way to reach out to participants after they get their box, you're never going to get that reporting back. And that was one thing that agencies across the country struggled with. So learn your technology, because you need to adapt your technology to what's going on in your agency. Secondly, what population, and I believe this was either Thomas or Xavier who said it, or Javier who said it, the technology, you need to understand what technology you want to use to reach what community. Not every community is going to respond to the technology because guess what? Not everybody spends their whole day online. So you may not reach a lot of people that way. What other adaptations did you make in your HIV self-testing programs?
Well, I'll say that I came around just because I was never a fan of the at-home test prior to the pandemic. And I won't say that I'm like the biggest fan of it now. I understand why it could be utilized and why it needed to be utilized just because all of these non-clinical testing sites were shut down. But I will say, I was working, a few years back, I was working in Orange County, California, and there was just a number of people that would, as it was FDA approved to be used at home, they'd go to CVS and spend the, $60, $70 to get the test. But most of the time they would still end up coming into a testing site because they don't believe they read it right. They don't believe they did it right. They didn't trust that they could do this whole thing on their own. So I think that that's changed somewhat just because of, it being available this way, and then, maybe reading it. And also I've seen a lot of other programs adapt to where you can call in, or you could do, some type of like telemedicine type of appointment with someone to guide you through the process. I have seen more adaptations of it where, or even reaching partners of, as Jesus was saying, that a lot of times people wouldn't want to go to certain situations. So a lot of times if you're able to offer your client a test for themselves and for their partner, then you're more likely to get more people tested. So now, as the pandemic has happened, I see a greater use for it. Definitely would be better if it was better technology, or I don't know. I think there is room for improvement, but overall, I've become through the pandemic more of a fan of this at-home testing.
So thank you so much for sharing that. So let's just go back through some of the things. Number one, we encourage people to include additional materials in the packaging about how to use the test. Some agencies have even started to use a short video. More information is not bad. People want to learn how to use this. And if you're going to provide things to people in English, what else do you need to do? Someone say it with me. Come on.
Spanish or predominant language in your area.
Translate it into the language that is predominant in your area. Okay, that's number one. Number two, when you're using this, be prepared to test it out and have people in your organization receive it. And when sending different materials to people, additional materials, don't be afraid to use more pictures and less words. Not everyone has the same level of literacy. Not everyone understands things the same. So more information using different types of communication tools are important. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. What else do we need to consider when trying to get people to use some of these non-traditional testing technologies? And if you feel comfortable turning on your cameras right now, I'm feeling like the teacher in Ferris Bueller who kept just saying Bueller. So if people feel comfortable turning on their cameras, thank you. Look at all these lovely faces. So yes, so what else do you need to consider? What other adaptations would you think about?
I'd say support. If you do get a preliminary positive, just like a warm line or a number that they could call, just some sort of, or even just someone to kind of, your organization or your people available to, sometimes I will say, working at a testing site, people just get a lot of anxiety when it comes to knowing their status and, and just the stigma that we face with HIV period. So I will say it is a little tougher, or has been a little tougher, or, you also have the liberty of doing it whenever you want, but at least offering, like for question support, like a number or somewhere that they can turn to.
So support. and have someone who has used the test be on the other line, the other end of that support, so that they can really answer questions about the technology. I believe someone said earlier, don't recommend something to someone that you've never used. And this is really important when it comes to this particular type of technology. So there's a comment here, try to consider the downsides of the technology implementation so you can think through. Yes, we can recommend protocols from agencies who have used HIV self-testing, the OraSure kit, and we have a website where we've collected the protocols, and we can share that when we send out the minutes. But it's really important that you think through what this means to you. A lot of organizations thought we were just going to pick up the technology and use it, and they did not think about all the other things, all the other bits of training that would need to go into that to make this possible. Ansha, you had a question about a continuum of care team?
I was just thinking about what Javier was sharing, and as he was speaking, that just popped in my mind of like also just how do you have that continuum of care team, and what does that look like? Like, what are the roles within those folks when we're thinking about the support that's needed? So beginning to have that team already established and letting folks know like what the respective roles are. So that way it's easy to communicate that too. And I feel like our folks will be able to know how to best respond. So I just appreciate with the comment that Javier made, just brought that aha moment in my head.
Yeah, so I said my presentation today would not be long, and I'm at the end of the presentation, but we want you to consider three things. Number one, when you are selecting a new technology, think about the end user and think about your team. Is your team ready for that shift in the paradigm that's going to happen? If the answer to any of those questions is either the end user or our team is not ready, then that is an opportunity for capacity building assistance. That's why we exist. Call us. The service is free. Anshe can get on the phone with you, or Jesus can get on the phone with you, or that dude Ty can get on the phone with you and walk you through that. Seek our services. Number two, learn the technologies. We are here to help you think through that. And I'm sorry, Yvonne, I see your comment. I stopped to read your comment. Yvonne said, for departments providing the test kits to a third party, make sure the patient is aware that their results will be shared with their local health department. So if and when they are contacted, they are aware that people will be reaching out. Yes, that is important to do. And once again, that's why we are going to encourage you to think through protocols, develop protocols. We are here to help you with that. So as you want to think about the technology, if you have questions about the technology, reach out to us. We are here to provide technical assistance. It is free. Finally, we want you to adapt this. Do not pick this up and do what Washington State did if you are in Colorado, because Washington State and Colorado, they both have beautiful green spaces. They both have a lot of beautiful people, but they are not the same state. Think through what that would mean in your organization. And if you need assistance adapting, guess what? Call us. We are here for that. HIV self-testing is not going away. It's going to be with us. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Sometime between January 1 of 2022 and March 31st, 2022, there will be a webinar for health departments about HIV self-testing and a webinar for CBOs about HIV self-testing. It'll be a national webinar. You will be able to join and learn more about HIV self-testing. You will also be able to hear from a health department or a CBO that actually made the switch and learn from them. I will give you another peek behind the curtain, is that you will see some of these same PowerPoints again, because we do not believe in making PowerPoints always for new presentations. We can reinvent the wheel and use things wisely. And then Patrick, you just said that NCSD is discussing self-testing today, 1 p.m. Pacific time on their national virtual meeting. So I guess today is HIV self-testing day. Something is in the environment.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they may have an STD component to it as well. I'm trying to remember what the agenda item actually said, but self-testing is on there. Home testing, whatever. I think
Yeah.
home testing.
Yeah, and I would say that from the NCSD's perspective, they're going to be talking about the dry blood spot and how that can be used for testing other STIs. So yes,
You
that's
know,
going to
since
be.
the holidays are coming up, we should send out stockings with self-tests in them.
If you have that kind of budget, understand that the test could be around $45 for the oral quick, and it can be around $58 for the blood spot. So great idea. If you have budget for that, make that a holiday gift that can be shared for Kwanzaa, Christmas, or Hanukkah.
Yep, all of them.
All right, so now we're going to switch over and talk about our dear friend Gary. So I'm going to hand it over to Jesus or Anshe.
Hey, Anshe, you still here?
I'm here. Oh, yeah. Well, y'all, I don't know if y'all know, but we have it on the agenda. So November 12th is pretty much Gary's last day. And, you know, Gary has been truly instrumental when we think about the Learning Collaborative. You know, this pretty much was coming from his own mindset of what this looks like, his vision. And we have been so grateful for that as we see there's been a lot of benefit for this Learning Collaborative. I know me personally at DPTC, it allowed us to think about how we can work more collectively, and also how we can make, how do we work easier or smarter, right? Rather than harder. So how do we make things work better for easier for us? And Gary has really been a thought partner, a thought leader around that. And so the Success of Learning Collaborative, we owe a huge thanks to Gary. I'm not saying that we didn't do anything, the other folks, but no, we want to acknowledge the work that Gary has done, even from the development of the group site and rallying folks and getting other folks to join and participate and gain some buy-in in group sites. So I appreciate that. So with all that said, we want to do something, right? And this is what we want to do. So that way he can see this. We want to do a chat waterfall, or in Gary's language. This chat waterfall, we want to just send our own well wishes to affirm Gary, anything that you want to put in there that can really just put a smile on Gary's face. Even when he leaves us, he can continue to see this and something he can think about us as much as we think about him and thank him for the work that he's done. So Jesus is going to play a little music for us, right?
That's right.
And to get us in the groove. And this way we can just start thinking about all the wonderful things Gary has done, whether outside of this, whether in here or outside of this. But let's put those in the chat box. If we want to take a moment to say something now, we can as we get the music going. I'll be quiet now and open it up to others. Well, that's good right there. My shoulders moved immediately.
All right. Well, we thank you all for completing the card and doing our chat waterfall. We will share this with Gary. Our December topic will be an update on prep science. Is that true, Jesus?
Yeah, so we're gonna have it'll be a special presentation on prep adherence. And we'll have a couple of folks from SFDPH leading that call.
All right. Well, we don't want to hold people's time. It is either time to eat lunch or it's over past time to eat lunch here in Colorado. Thank you for coming out this Tuesday and have a great day. Please complete the evaluation. Jesus put it into the chat. Please open it now and complete it. We think that's important. And have a great day.
Takes about 2 minutes. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoy
Thanks,
the rest of the week.
everyone.